We applaud Kyle Lowry for exercising his restraint because obviously that's the right thing to do, particularly in that environment, and we get that. The flip side to it all, however, is that when we talk about a lifetime ban, I would ask everybody to pause on that in this regard. Donald Sterling was caught on tape essentially saying he had no use for black people, telling his mistress, why do you talk to them? What do you get out of it? What do you get out of it? Why would you be around them, etc.? A blanket statement about a race, a nation of people you don't know, strictly due to their ethnicity, the color of their skin, their culture, their heritage, etc. What we have in an owner, is reprehensible as his actions are, and they are, no doubt about it. The flip side to it is that you're sitting courtside, it's the enemy, it's the opponent. You got no right putting your hands on somebody. But what I'm saying to you is that the suspension and the fine should have been stiffer and steeper. But when we talk about banishment, if you want to sit up there and say that man made a mistake, okay, you could actually make that argument in some people's eyes. This man is a part of the Bill Gates Giving Pledge, according to what I was told. For those of you who don't know, it was started in 2010 by Bill Gates and contributed by Warren Buffett, where billionaires across the nation, you know, commit to donating half of their wealth to worthy causes, et cetera, et cetera. Again, that doesn't excuse his behavior, but there has been nothing of this kind, and it was against an opponent, whereas you had Donald Sterling that was just excoriating black people. Those are two different things, and I draw a distinction between the two. As reprehensible as Mark Stevens' actions were, I do draw a distinction between the two. And since Donald Sterling was banned, I don't want somebody banned, you know, where you get to compare what they did to what Donald Sterling did.
Before I answer the question, Stephen, I want to ask you something. When it comes to disputes between labor and management, where do I usually end up?
Your attitude is that, you know what, they need to be just as hard on management
as labor, right?
Labor, yes.
When it comes to racial issues, do you think I usually have a righteous position or not?
I think you usually have a very righteous position.
Right. But one thing I'm not going to do is virtue signal, because especially if we're talking about this and it's a white guy and has an ownership stake,
right,
and it's an African-American player, as the white guy on TV talking about it, you know, you're in danger if you don't virtue signal. But that's not me.
That's not you.
So when I tell you a position, if you feel it's on the righteous side, that's the way I feel.
Exactly.
I think they got this just right, and I will tell you why.
Okay.
If a player, you know, unprovoked, shoved a fan, and they said anything like lifetime ban from the NBA, I'm not talking about, you know, cold clocked them, a one-hitter quitter type, you know, blindside, you know, sucker punched them. I'm talking about shoved the fan, and people were on TV talking about lifetime ban. I'd be like, you got to be out of your mind. Even if they said a one-year ban, I'd be like, look, you can't put your hand on a fan, but he shoved them. You know, and I might even be hesitant with that. If they gave him a $500,000 fine and a 1 year, I'd be like, they came down on him, but you know what? You can't be putting your hands on other people.
Right.
Basically, we have laws like this that have people be civilized and civil toward one another, because no one can put their hands on you, right? But when you put your hands on someone else, you can't complain about what comes back at you, right? So that dude wouldn't have been able to complain, but Lowry showed self-restraint because he knows what's at stake, and also he's playing in the finals, right? And he knows he has to represent the NBA like that, so he took the high road, but he'd have been justified going back at the dude. Yeah. Even if it escalated once he got his hand. He didn't do that. Good for Kyle Lowry. He handled it just right. So now what happened to this guy? Normally, I'd say if you put your hands on one just to shove him, a 1-year ban and $500,000 is too much. But he's a part owner of a team. You must make an example of him, higher standard. I think, what if a player did exactly what he did? What would be the punishment? My feeling is it would be no worse than this, maybe a little less. I think Adam Silver got this exactly right, as he normally does.
Of course, no.
I think he could have put a few more dollars on it, you know what I'm saying, since he's a billionaire.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, that would have made it sound a little bit more, you know, respectable as far as taking a little bit more of his money, because the banning don't matter. You can watch the games at the house. But as far as, like, when you go in somebody's pocket, you really affected him. And I think he learned his lesson, because the apology sounded, you know, official. You know, I don't like when people apologize just because they have to. I like when it's sincere, when you really feel like you done something wrong. When I feel like he done something wrong, when he know he did something wrong, and just think they just probably could have took a few more dollars from him to throw into the community, into one of those positive acts that he's, putting his money into.
Right.
Put some of that money into that, like make 500,000 go to the community, as far as doing some, proper
That's a
with
great
that
point.
money.
Where does the fine money go?
Exactly, we don't know. And when you consider, again, not to bring him up because I'm a fan of his, and but remember how it wasn't necessarily a fine, but the $10 million that Mark Cuban had donated to worthy causes because of what was transpiring with the Dallas Mavericks. You could have done something along this lines. His level of contrition that Adam Silver and those point to, I don't know the man at all, okay? But the bottom line is the Warriors, having established themselves as a gold standard as an organization, I believe in the contrition because I think if the contrition was to anybody, it was definitely to them because of how he stained their name and their brand.
Real quick before we wrap this up, because I just have one.
And I was told.
You guys said that if it was a player, you felt like it was fair, and Stephen A., you felt like it could be a little stricter. I know you said the fine could be a little more, but what if this was the average fan?
Well,
what do you think would have happened to him?
I have no idea. I imagine that it would have been just as bad to some degree, but again,
minus the fine.
Minus the fine. But I will tell you that I was told that he's reached out to Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry hasn't gotten back to him. I don't know, because I haven't spoken to Kyle Lowry. I don't know how much truth there is to that, but I know that's where the Golden State Warriors are coming from.
To Snoop's point, by the way, if Mark Stevens really wants to do the right thing, he should come out. I'm not counting anyone else's money, but he's got a lot. He should come out and say, you know what? There's the $500,000 fine. Here's another $500,000 on top of that by a lot of goodwill.
He should also come out and rather than give a statement, bring your behind on camera. You didn't mind being on camera when you shoved the player. Come on camera and make an apology and don't have a written statement. Let's see you on camera.